Years ago, my daughters, they were about 15 or 16, and I was taking them grouse hunting. We were way up the Bull River, which is about 2 hours from here, I suppose. I had the truck loaded. We did have food and blankets, and we were all prepared. It was sometime in September. I can't really remember what year it was. I could do the math. I suppose I should have done that before the story. Anyway, I had an old 79 Bronco. I had posi track in the back of this truck, so it actually really went places. We found a spot to camp. I got out of the truck, and the first thing I was doing was collecting firewood, and I was getting the fire going. And the next thing I know, I hear the truck fire up, and I hear these kids laughing, and they just drive away. Okay, now we're out in an area where there was a lot of side roads, and I'm calling them, get back here, you know. Well, did they listen? No, they just kept laughing and driving away. I'm sitting there, okay, well, I continued to get the fire going. I got the fire all nice, and I collected a bunch of firewood. And it was only maybe 2 hours before it was going to be dark out. And I'm waiting, hour goes by. Nope, they don't come back. 2 hours go by. Nope, they don't come back. Well, now I'm starting to get a little frustrated. It's starting to get dark now. Still, they're not back with my truck. And I hadn't even unpacked any of the gear. I didn't have my coat on. They had all the bedding, the food, everything. So it was all in the truck. I hadn't unloaded any of this gear. Well, now I'm starting to panic. I almost felt like I was going to have a nervous breakdown over these kids just taking off. Now the worst case scenarios go through your mind. You're thinking, what happened? Did they go off a cliff? What happened to these kids? And now, in the pitch black, how am I even going to, on foot, go looking for these kids? Well, now I got to go on foot and look for these girls. So I started heading down the back road, following the truck tracks. Now that it's light, I can actually go looking, I guess. But where do you go? I mean, there were side roads everywhere in this area. If I didn't follow the tracks properly, I could be walking around all day looking for these girls. I'm walking down the road and I hear a vehicle. It turns out to be a buddy of mine that all of us had gone camping in the past. I used to do a lot of fishing with this, Warren was his name. He showed up in his 4Runner, and we started looking for these girls in the truck now. At least now I got a truck. I can cover more ground than on foot. And we're driving along and we get to this spot where there was an embankment, and I see my truck down the bank. Again, the anxiety level is just horrendous. Well, we drive up and we get close to the truck, and then I see two heads pop up looking outside. What a relief, I'm telling you. I was just so relieved to see them in that truck. I mean, it's hard to even get mad at them. You're just so relieved that there they are and they're okay. They weren't paying attention, as they told me, and they went on a corner and just drove straight down the bank. And even with this truck, as good as it was, they couldn't get back out. They were stuck. So they spent the night in the truck. They had the blankets, the food, and they were all good and great. So that's an interesting story. That's episode 1. And stay tuned for the next one. There's always going to be an interesting story. This was kind of a story where it was almost a tragic story, but I'll tell you, man, anxiety can kill you, man. I couldn't believe the anxiety that I went through on that camping trip. You know, I remember when I was a kid, listening to Grandma's stories of the old days, you know, in the 20s and 30s, and boy, she had some fascinating stories to tell. And even though I heard them probably 100 times throughout my life, I always would listen to them again. So hopefully you'll find these stories as interesting as Grandma's used to be. I remember also I met Morris Kochanski, who Wikipedia calls the godfather of survival and bushcraft. And I spent hours and a few days listening to his stories for hours on end, and I never got tired of his stories. They were so interesting, so true to life, and you learn so much from other people's stories. And so I hope that you find a fireside chat with Greg as interesting as Grandma and Morris's old stories. So I learnt with my daughters that don't even stop for a pee unless you've got the key. Took me 3 times to figure that out. Okay, it is time for episode 2 of the Fireside Chat. To make it a Fireside Chat, I may as well build a fire, because that's going to be important to a Fireside Chat. Gonna start this fire with my old ferro rod from Patagonia. So we'll just get a quick fire going here so we can have our chat. And we'll be off to the races. Okay, well this is nice, sitting by the fire. This is a bear story for you. And it was September 2015. I was going to one of my favorite fishing spots and I was just packing a fishing rod. That time of year I should know better, packed the rifle as well, but I didn't this particular time. I got quite a ways down the trail and I hear this crashing coming out of the bushes. Here's this grizzly bear and he's just charging through the bush. Like full bore. And he comes up within like 15 feet of me and he's stomping the ground. I say, oh man, wish I would have brought the gun. When the bear comes out and he's stomping the ground, it's usually an indicator that he just doesn't want you there. So I knew not to run. I started talking nice. Okay, he's not coming further. He's stomping the ground. He's letting me know, don't come any closer. That's what they do. They stomp the ground, and that means don't get any closer. You got to pay attention. You got to read the signs when they get this way. I mean, obviously, this was just a surprise to me that this bear came rushing out like that. And I'm talking nice to the bear. He finally goes away. Thank goodness. I'm telling you, when a bear comes charging out of the bush like that, it is not a lot of fun. You don't know what to do. But I knew what to do. What I mean is that most people won't know what to do. The instinct is to just run. And that's where you make a mistake, because these bears, if you start to run, they're going to follow you. They're going to chase you down. They think, well, their instinct is, he's running. What's wrong? There must be a problem. And that's when people get attacked. Learn how to deal with the bears. I've had so many bear encounters. It's just unbelievable. Like hundreds of times I've run into bears and been charged dozens of times. So I do know what I'm talking about. As it turns out, the same week, within about 3 or 4 days of me being charged by this bear, what happened was another man from Alberta was hiking the same trail, same idea, going to go fishing down at the river, up the Finley Creek. He ended up getting attacked and in the hospital. Like, he actually got attacked by the same bear. A few years later, I met this man at a Bushcraft symposium, and I get a tap on the shoulder. Who's this? Guy, he says, oh, I love your shirt. So I'm going to show you the shirt that I was wearing at the time. It was funny. You see that? What doesn't kill you only makes you stronger, except for bears. They will kill you. And he says, yeah, I love your shirt. Then we started talking, and as it turns out, this is the man that got attacked by that same grizzly bear at the same location 4 years earlier. By then I had been on the Alone Show. He knew me from the Alone Show, and we got talking, and he was explaining about how he got attacked and this and that. But I had read the article in the paper about this guy getting attacked, and it was right around the same time. So we put 2 and 2 together. This was the man that I met that got attacked by this grizzly bear. Now, I didn't ask a lot of questions. I wasn't going to give him a lecture. Oh, did you run? Did you do this? Did you do that? But he showed me it bit his leg up, his hand and arm. I seen the scars on him and I thought, oh man, that could have been me. But as it turns out, I met that guy several years later at this Bushcraft symposium. This bear has been in that area for years. The conservation officers, they went up and investigated. You can actually Google this article. Just Google man attacked angling near Canal Flats 2015. That was actually pretty funny. Looking at the footage here, I reviewed it, and the shadow of the sun, you can see the tripod, and it's almost like my head is right on the tripod of the camera. But as it turns out, like I say, this bear has been in that area, and it's created a lot of problems for other people as well. Read the story. The conservation officers, they came up there to the scene, because once somebody's attacked by a grizzly bear, I mean, they have to investigate it. They did find the bear. What they discovered also was that this bear had a buried carcass from one of the local cattle ranchers. They free roam their cattle. Whether this cow died or it killed the cow and buried it, regardless, it was just protecting its kill. So in the article, it even mentioned that the bear was just doing what comes normal and natural to a bear, protecting its kill and its food source. There you go. Very interesting bear story. That same year, I talked to a couple of hunters that were in the area, and they were elk hunting. Same September. And the same bear, it had to be the same bear, because they were camped not far from there, within like a couple of weeks of the same incidents that I'm talking about. The bear came through their camp, tore their tents up, chased their dogs. Now, they were hunters, they had rifles, but they didn't shoot the bear that time either. They shot a couple of shots off in the air, the bear took off, and this and that. I guess basically the moral of this fireside chat is, like, learn how to deal with bear encounters. If it's a black bear, yeah, yell, make noise, they usually take off. But with a grizzly bear that's protecting its cubs, or say protecting its kill, as in this situation, that's a different story. They're a more aggressive bear. You can't really intimidate them the same way you can a black bear. Basically, all you're going to do is aggravate a grizzly by yelling and screaming and carrying on. Just be aware of that. You can't outrun them anyway, so there's no point trying. Talk nice, stand still, and then they won't think that you're a threat. So I've learned these things, and hopefully you'll find this story interesting, because it was just amazing to actually run into this man 4 years after the situation and read about it in the papers. And I mean, it's just something, man. Don't let the fear of bears take the enjoyment out of getting out in the outdoors. Just, it's how you react. You know, like I say, I didn't carry my shotgun that time. I didn't have bear spray. I don't think about these things usually, because you know, I've dealt with so many situations, but it's always when you don't expect things to go wrong that they do. So keep that in mind too. Like, you don't anticipate these things. Like, I've run into that same bear probably 3 times since this occasion we're talking about. One time, I was cleaning some grouse in the same area, and I seen him coming through the bush, sneaking up behind me. He was coming up this ridge. I was on a ridge, and I had my truck parked, I had the tailgate down, and I was cleaning some grouse, and I caught something out of the side vision here, peripheral, whatever. And I looked down, and here this grizzly, same bear, you can tell the same bear. He's been there for years. I know him, I recognize him, and he was sneaking up the hill kind of behind me. So I just packed up and I left. Anytime I go to that area now, obviously I carry my shotgun. Bear's still there. If you go to the mouth of the Finley Creek, when the kokanee salmon are running in the channel there, and that's why he's there. He's there for the salmon, and he's there just about every year. He's young enough. These bears live to 35 years. He's going to be there for a long time to come, so be careful down in that area if you go there in September. I appreciate you listening to this fireside chat. Like, it's exciting for me to be able to tell you these true stories that have happened, and it's just exciting, like, to relive them almost, you know, through the camera. So I appreciate y'all. I thought that this video was over. So I was doing the fireside chat about the grizzly charge and the man that got attacked. I went for coffee this morning to a friend's house. We were having coffee and watching the news hour. And yesterday, same day that I did this fireside chat video, 2 people in Banff were attacked by a grizzly bear and killed yesterday. Kind of sad, tragic news. So these things do happen. Be bear aware. And hopefully you enjoyed the story, but that's kind of a sad coincidence with me doing that video and the tragic thing that happened in Banff yesterday. But I'll see you on the next Fireside Chat. I've got lots of stories to tell. So there'll always be something interesting and funny stories and whatever else. So I'll see you on the next one. I'm gonna get some firewood pins. So, I've got an interesting story for you. So basically, this is a hunting story. Me and my buddy Warren, he was always a risk taker. And it seems that nobody's heard from him for years, but I have a lot of stories with this individual. His nickname was Hardcore Warren. I think when I describe the story and how he was, you'll understand what I mean. Let me tell you a little bit about his background. His dad was very strict. And I remember him telling me a story one time that he was out fishing, he was about 13, and his dad said, "Will you be back by noon, or I'm just going to leave you?" Now, of course, nobody in their right mind would do this kind of thing, but apparently he wasn't there in time, and that's what happened. He had to hike home over the mountains, and it took him all day. He was eating earthworms and just hiked over the mountains and made it back home safe and sound. He was hardcore for a reason. There's going to be other stories involving Warren as well. We were out hunting. We were quite a ways out in the bush. And he got his deer, and then time went on. Finally, just before evening, I ended up getting my deer as well. We both had a deer each. Now, what ended up happening is we weren't prepared in the sense that we didn't bring sleeping bags. We basically were just out for a day trip to try to get a couple of deer, which we did. But on the way back, we ended up running out of gas. It was his vehicle, and I guess he really didn't check the gas gauge properly.
Tanks ran out of gas, so we had to fight it out.
Problem was, we were way out in the middle of nowhere, and now we were out of gas. Now, it was a time of year where it was getting pretty cold. Like, it was -10, -12 at night. We didn't have bedding. So the first thing I thought of, and you've seen this in other videos, okay, try to find some hot rocks. We'll put them in the truck, stay warm that way, because the vehicle doesn't run. There was a foot of snow on the ground at the time. Problem was, I wasn't really able to find any rocks. Even under the trees, I didn't really find any rocks, even though there wasn't really a lot of snow under some of the trees. So next thing, well, what about firewood? I didn't really see a lot of firewood in the area either. That was another problem. There was little branches on the trees, but not really anywhere to even have a fire in a foot of snow. This happens almost every Fireside Chat. Now the sun came out, the smoke's going the wrong way. I gotta readjust the camera again.
It's hard to readjust.
Okay, readjusted a bit. Smoke seems to be going the other way slightly now. The thing I didn't quite understand about my buddy Warren was he seemed to have all this bushcraft knowledge. And I remember asking him one time, like, where did you learn all these tricks? Survival, this, that. I said, you must have read a lot of books. Well, according to him, he didn't. You see how difficult it can be doing these Fireside Chats. I'm trying to finish my story, but I can't even see. Oh boy, well, you gotta be kidding me. I had to move quite a ways away from the fire because it was just creating havoc, obviously. But anyway, yes, I could not understand where my buddy Warren got all his information and this and that. And he said, well, it's just all his years of hunting since he was 10 years old and starting fires in the bush, and he claims it was all hands-on knowledge. What are we going to do? So he suggested, well, I'll tell you what we should do. We're going to clean our deer and sleep inside them. I thought it was a great idea because I knew about it from reading survival books. But it's something I hadn't tried, so I was all game. Well, let's do that. So we both cleaned our deer out, gutted them out. We had snow to wash them down, and we did have rags because we were out hunting, so we had a bag of rags and towels, and we cleaned those deer right out, almost spotless. Not to mean they wouldn't bleed a little bit overnight. And then we both drug our deer underneath a tree where there wasn't a lot of snow and spent the night sleeping inside the carcass of the deer. Now, our feet were hanging out like a ways. You know, we left the skin on, the hide on these deer. And I'm telling you, it was warm. It's hard to believe, but when you do that survival trick, man alive, you're almost too hot. Like, it keeps you warm all night, even in 10, 15 below. Like, we had no issues there. That's an interesting trick to remember when you're out hunting. Maybe you get something, you get lost, or you can't get your way home. Remember that trick. I think they've shown it on other shows.
Down the bottom, make a little incision. Really sting.
Hang on, kid. I did know about this trick, and I was all keen to try it because I had never done that. But apparently he had done this before. So here we're talking about somebody that just learned things on his own and applied them and knew what to do in certain situations. And I've seen him with lots of other situations do something similar. And so it was just hard for me to believe that this person hadn't read survival books, or where do you get this? Just from hands-on is what he said. Like, I've been in situations, I know how to adapt, and that's what he did. And he was good at it. Hardcore Warren. I'm sure maybe there's some people that will remember the nickname and maybe even leave a comment. But anyway, so we did fine all night. Next morning he got up, grabbed a jerry can, which he did have. It should have had gas in it, but it was empty. We discovered that before we cleaned our deer. Oh, I got a jerry can of gas.
You didn't bring a spare jerry can?
Oh, no, Bert. I forgot a spare jerry can because I was rushing to save your...
No. There was no gas in the jerry can. So he started hiking down. Eventually somebody picked him up, even though we were way out on this back road. He did get a ride into town, and I think it was maybe 2 or 3 hours later he showed up with a jerry can of gas, and we were able to get out, go to my place, clean our deer, and all ended well. You know, it's good to be a little more prepared than we were on that trip. You know, I kind of emphasize nowadays you should have blankets and maybe extra gas. I mean, in this case, all we would have needed was gas because we just ran out of gas. It's not like we had a mechanical breakdown. It's not like the motor went, the transmission went, and we were absolutely stranded because of a vehicle breakdown. It was just poor planning. Maybe look at the gas gauge, Warren. But anyway, I thought you'd find that interesting because... you know, that trick worked very well. I would have preferred probably to use the hot rocks in the truck like I've shown in other videos. But at the same time, I had never tried that trick and it worked well. So keep that in mind. And I'll see you on the next Fireside chat. So I guess the moral of the story is hands-on experience is better than maybe reading the books. You can learn a lot from the books, but hands-on is probably the best teacher. Right on. Watch your hands when you're doing this. Okay, this time I figured I would just start the fire from my broken ferro rod. I got a little chunk. Just gonna shave off some small pieces. Usually you like the quick fires, I think, but I just want to show the importance of hanging on to even a broken piece of ferro rod. Very fine pieces is what I want. Some bigger ones is fine. This down here. Keep feeding it. Keep it covered. And there you go. Broken piece of ferro rod. Well, I got 2 pounds of bacon here, but Finn will probably eat most of it. I like bacon too, but well, that's a mess of bacon. This is thick sliced bacon, but I sure didn't need this much. I got way too much in here. Oh, piece fell on fire, whatever. We'll get that out here. I was pretty hungry, Finn's hungry. We'll have something to eat first and then we'll get to the story. It's a really cool story. Gentle. Very gentle. Good boy. I always like these farm fresh eggs. Finn likes eggs too. A little bit of bacon grease and some little pieces of bacon in there. That's fine. We'll have something to eat and then we'll tell our story. Just about done. It's done. Perfect. Okay, there we go. This story goes back to the year 1976. You're gonna like it. Pretty cool story. Want that, Finn? Gentle. Good boy. You get some more, don't worry. You have to listen to my story too, Finn. It's very intriguing. So anyway, I'm 13, it's 1976, and I'll tell you some motivating factors to what I decided to do this particular summer holiday. In school, I could see out the classroom Golden Ears Mountains, which were across the Fraser River, and I always thought, you know, man, I wasn't concentrating on schoolwork, didn't really like school. I just wanted to be up there in those mountains. Now, I had read Bradford Angier several times, How to Stay Alive in the Woods. I had another survival book as well, Larry Dean Olson, Outdoor Survival Skills. Two of the motivating things for me, I wanted to be in the mountains. So I came up with a scheme. I was going to run away from home during summer holidays. And I talked to a friend of mine, Calvin Mushin actually, and he seemed keen to go on this adventure because I had read and seen documentaries on Dick Prenneke, who went into the Alaskan wilderness, built a cabin. He was a master woodworker. You know, amazing. You should really look up Dick Prenneke because fascinating story. Moved into the Alaskan wilderness, 1968 at the age of 51. Built a cabin, basically lived off the land from time to time. He had a friend that would fly supplies in, and but otherwise basically lived off the land. His cabin's actually a museum site now. But you should look into that story. The other thing was, I had seen the movie Jeremiah Johnson several times. I wanted to be this mountain man, this Jeremiah Johnson. So at 13, I was determined I'm going to run away and go live in the bush like Dick Prenicky and like the movie Jeremiah Johnson, be a mountain man. I had read the survival book several times, started several bow drill fires. I'm going to start this up in a minute. There's the smoke again. Every time I do a fireside chat, I got to move around a bit. It's a bit better for now. That's all I wanted. I didn't like school. I didn't want to be in class. I just wanted to be up in those Golden Ear Mountains, building my cabin like Jeremiah Johnson and Dick Prenicky. Actually, you know, the movie Jeremiah Johnson, the book that I had read, Larry Dean Olson's book, Outdoor Survival Skills, he was the consultant on Jeremiah Johnson, the movie. Showed the survival tricks and this and that. And the problem was the illustrations, like for example in Bradford Angier's book, How to Stay Alive in the Woods. Well, they were black and white drawings. You couldn't learn your plants from these books. I mean, these illustrations were so bad. It was like a grade 5er drawing stickmen. Like you couldn't tell a dandelion from a stinging nettle. It wasn't until, you know, later that they started having comprehensive survival, not survival, but plant books where you could actually learn these things properly. They would tell you a few things about the plant, but try to identify a plant from these illustrations, forget it. Back in my day when I was starting to learn these things. But anyway, I was determined. So, gonna run away. Gonna live in the bush, build my cabin, man. Summer holidays come around and I'm getting ready. Day comes to leave into the wilderness. Well, I get a hold of my buddy Calvin. No, he had changed his mind. No, he wasn't going to come on this adventure. Sounded like a great idea. He liked the idea all summer, but now, time to go, he didn't like it. So I head off on myself, by myself I should say, and took the family dog, wrote a note. I'm going into the bush, to my parents obviously. Don't bother looking for me, I'm going to be happy, I'll be fine. You know, of course, not being realistic at 13. I mean, I was just learning survival skills. It's not like I'm some kind of expert. I'm 13. A lot to learn yet, right? Not only that, you're not legally allowed to be on your own anyway. But it was a fantasy, a dream of mine to go and live like that. So I went through with it. I actually did go through with it. So I head out early in the morning, like first light. Little bit of frost on the ground. I brought a knife and a few things, and the family dog, like I said. And I start hiking down the creek, and I want to get near the Fraser River. There was a lot of bush back in those days. I mean, we had deer and bear and everything all around us. I mean, it wasn't a big city back then. It was like just bush almost. And I go for quite a ways. I'm getting down towards the Fraser River, following the creek to the Fraser River, because I knew I had to get across that river. That was the thing. Well, I'm trying to think, well, there is a ferry in Fort Langley, and that's quite a ways away. I got to follow the Fraser to where the ferry is, get across the river, and then head up to Golden Ears into the mountains. The other thing is I'm thinking, well, what if the ferry people won't let me on the ferry? Too young. Where's your parents? They could ask questions too. There was all kinds of things. You know, once you make the move and you make the plunge, as they say. I got far enough, I figured, for the night. It's still early in the day, but I've been gone quite a few hours now. I did bring some fishing line and some hooks, and I caught a couple of trout out of the creek. And I caught by hand some little minnows. Like, you know, there's these 3-4 inch minnows, and you could just let your hand sit in the current. And when they swam over you could just lift them up, grab them. Got a bunch of them, probably half a dozen. It was a sunny day, so I found a flat rock, and I've got my minnows sitting on the flat rock, sun drying. I cooked one fish up for me, one for the dog, and then was sun drying these minnows for the rest of the trip until I got into a better area, got across the river. I realized, okay, well, before I try to get across the river, I better build a shelter. So I built a shelter, lean-to, basically just a tripod situation with, I was using bracken fern, sword fern, layered it, then put maple leaves over, a debris shelter. So I'm pretty much getting prepared, boy. The first day's going pretty good. Got big plans, Greg did at 13, building his log cabin out there in the wilderness. You know, as it turns out, just before dark, and of course I got discovered by Dad. He had kind of figured where I might go. Basically, he did show up, and I was devastated. One day is all I got on my survival adventure. My whole dream of building this cabin, living off the land, was just shattered overnight. Well, in one day. I didn't even get to spend the night. My lean-to I built, cooked my fish, drying fish. But you know, it still was a memorable occasion as far as taking the plunge and doing it. I don't really regret it. But how realistic was I being when you think about being 13? I didn't have the knowledge I have today about survival. I didn't have the means. It was unrealistic, but it was quite the dream of mine. And now here I am. I'm pretty much living my dream that I had when I was 13 in a way. I'm on my own, out here in the wilderness. I haven't built a cabin yet. I still haven't built a cabin. I hope to in the future. But you know, like, be realistic, you young folks. You know, your parents have your best interests at heart. So, you know, I knew quite a few plants even at that age, despite the difficulty of learning plants because of the really, I don't know what would be the word, primitive ways they tried to show you plants in these books. It was just ridiculous to learn plants, but I did know quite a few. I was eating some on the way as well. I knew traps. I knew a lot of the techniques in these books. Set certain traps. I had caught raccoon, a possum, made live traps, caught neighbors' cats, like in live traps, didn't kill them. So I guess even for my age, I had a fair amount of survival knowledge, but just not practical in the sense of thinking I was going to make it on my own at that age. So sometimes I guess we all fantasize about things we want, things we dream about. The reality for me was I ended up just having to go home. Eventually I got old enough, bought a car, moved away, never went back to the lower mainland. Went up north and worked, found a job, kept doing drywall most of my life. But here I am living the dream. I'm still going to build my cabin, and I'm still going to keep learning and teaching you folks survival techniques. I'm working on a book. I've already started it, and I hope to have that done in a few months. Hopefully you'll support that project. And I'll even share some other stories maybe in my book. I appreciate you all for watching the videos. I want to thank you subscribers especially, but all you viewers as well. I appreciate you all. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be doing these videos. But I really do enjoy telling these little stories, even if they're short and sweet. And we'll see you on the next Fireside Chat. Right on. Well, I'm just here at camp and got a couple of reporters here. They do some reporting for different magazines and this and that, and we're just doing some photography. You just want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Jeff Pugh, just a Kootenai writer and photographer. And Carrie,
I'm Carrie Medig, and I'm a photographer from Nelson, BC. And yeah, we just heard about Greg's story, saw some of his videos, and we're just like, oh, we got to do a story for something. And it's funny because I was telling my wife this morning, as we were driving from Nelson last night, I guess, I'm like, I'm driving over the mountains because I like the look of this guy's face. So
I love it.
so that's why we're here.
Well, I appreciate the compliment.
Yeah, no, that's a positive thing. Yes.
And
Okay.
I've been a Greg Ovens junkie, just watching everything I can on YouTube and TikTok, and just I'm just charmed by his personality and his comfort in the bush, and it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Jeff. Well, this is how I live, guys. I do.
Yeah.
You might have a convert here. Maybe I should start living like this. Looks a lot simpler than my life, right?
Well, it's not as simple as what you might think.
Oh yeah.
It can be tough. It can definitely be tough. I mean, I'm not getting any younger, for one thing.
And at minus 35, you couldn't last too many nights of it, did you?
You're not going to last long in 35 below if you don't, unless you got a fire.
Yeah.
If you don't have a fire, you're not going to make it long.
Yeah. How does Finn like the lifestyle out here?
Well, Finn loves the bush.
Yeah.
He just lives for the bush. But when I take a motel or a hotel because it's too cold for him or I, he gets bored.
Yeah.
He gets bored. He just can't wait to get back to camp.
Yeah.
He's just that way.
And I love how he gets a steak when you get a steak.
If I cook a steak, he gets a steak.
I love it.
Yeah, for sure.
And Finn's got quite a few.
He pulls his own weight. He's got his own coffee cups and T-shirts. So I think he deserves a steak too.
Yeah. He's got quite a few fans on YouTube.
He's got a lot of fans.
Yeah.
Tell you a little story. I went to the pet store to get him some toys one time.
Yeah.
A woman recognized me from the channel. She didn't want a picture of me. She wanted a picture of Finn.
Oh, that's
Is Finn in the truck?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Okay, well, morning. Out of the way, Finns. Gotta talk to the camera. Out of the way, out of the way. So anyway, go get your ball. Go get your ball. Send them off for a minute here. Oh, I had a couple of weird dreams. Dreams are weird. It's just strange. I dreamt that I was back drywalling a house for a couple. Yeah. But I got the job done before I woke up, so that's good. I don't want to let anybody down, even if it is just a character in a dream. Yeah, dreams are cool. Sometimes you dream and you remember vividly the dreams, and some don't seem to make any sense whatsoever to me. But this one made sense, and I stuck around in the dream long enough to get their job done. But I'm going to go pick up a friend of mine from town. We're going to do a fireside chat because he was on this adventure. Now I'll be covered in charcoal. Okay, so get that built up and go get my buddy and get on with the story. This is my buddy Jamie, and basically what this adventure was about, I had been doing this for years. I look on the map books and I find, and I'll show you where this lake is that we attempted to get to this particular time.
Apparently this lake exists.
It did exist, but we never made it to the spot, as you'll see throughout the story. But I was quite well known for just finding these little lakes on the maps and then discovering them. One example is that lake I took Zach Fowler to, and we ended up getting stranded, had no gear for the night. That's how I found that lake as well. But in this particular situation, we headed out to this lake I wanted to go look for, had to follow this creek, and we got way back into the valley area, and it got steeper and steeper. Now, we made a mistake, something you shouldn't do. I was carrying my shotgun, my dog Shiva, you remember her quite well.
Yeah, I had the fishing rod and a half sack.
Right, you carrying the fishing gear. And basically, Jamie decided to take what he thought was an easier route, as it turns out it was. And I ended up going up this steep rock face that was kind of shale, and it had rained a little bit throughout the time, and the rocks were getting slippery. I got up about 300 feet above the creek, and as I'm climbing, everything's sliding out. The rocks are falling out of the bank.
Oh, yeah.
Everything I'm grabbing onto is pulling out of the mountainside. And as it turns out, I got to this one ledge, which was about 2 feet wide, 4 feet long, and I'm sitting there now in the rain thinking, man, I don't want to go down and I don't want to go up. I'm just not really sure what to do. I sat there for about an hour and a half trying to figure out a plan to get off this ledge. And by now I have no idea where Jamie went.
No, we separated. That wasn't very good.
It wasn't a very good situation.
No.
Because I had the shotgun, he had the fishing tackle, but you took a different route.
Yeah, I could see the timber line. And I've been in the bush all my life, so I knew once I got to that timber line, I'd be okay.
Right.
But there's no way I was going down either.
No.
Because I was steep.
Yeah. And the dog didn't even want to go up where either one of us had gone. The dog stayed down at the creek and just lied there watching us. But Shiva was such a good dog that basically I knew she'd just be sitting there or sitting at the truck when we got back, so I wasn't too worried about her.
No, no.
She wouldn't follow either one of us.
A lot smarter than we were.
So, a little bit of a terrifying situation. Okay, so here is the road that we went up. You get near this cedar grove up in here, and then you hike this creek, and you can see the lake right there. And you can see by the terrain how steep it is on both sides. And we went up this draw somewhere where I got stuck on the cliff, would have been down in here above the creek. I'm on this cliff and I gotta go up or down. I can't spend all night on this cliff. And I sat there for an hour and a half and I decided, well, I don't want to try to go down. The reason was the creek was open on this chute that I got stuck on. And if I would have slid down, I would have gone into the open water. But for about 200 yards down from that open spot, it was ice. So if I would have gone in there, I would have been under the ice in the creek. So I decided, well, I got to scramble up the bank. And eventually I got to a spot where the rocks weren't pulling out, and I finally made my way to the tree line. And I don't know how long it took you to get to the tree line.
Oh, quite a while. But I could see, the only thing kept me going, because there's no way, like I say, I wasn't going down either.
No.
And
neither one of us wanted to go down.
Once I hit that timber line, I could follow the timber down to wherever.
Right, exactly. So neither one of us even had a clue where the other person was at this point. So
that's one thing you should never do.
No, you should always stay together, for sure. So he made it up so far, and you eventually followed the timber back down to the creek.
Yeah, but I went to where we started out and got a marker going so you could tell where I was, and they made an arrow back to the truck so you'd know when you did come down, because I was going back to the truck.
And there was enough snow that you just drew your arrow in the trees.
Yeah, and some wood.
Oh yeah, with logs.
Yeah.
Yeah, with
made
logs.
An arrow heading to the truck.
Yeah, he made an arrow out of logs, which is a good idea. you know. But now I'm at the top of the timberline and I can see Jamie down there building the arrow, and I'm yelling at him, but he can't hear me. So, and the dog is with him at this point. I finally took a shot with the shotgun, and then he knew approximately, or that I was way up high, and I think you just carried back onto the truck?
I waited for you. Your dog wasn't going to go anywhere without you.
No, the dog knew I was up there, but I could see Jamie and the dog down at the bottom, so okay, well, I guess this is a write-off. We're going to have to look for this lake another time. So yeah, I came down the timberline, and we met up and made our way back to the truck. But, you know, it was really scary being stuck on that cliff, not wanting to go up or down. And, boy, it was steep in there, eh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It was steep.
Shouldn't have been there. With at least you had some rope.
I was just shaking because I didn't know what I wanted to do as far as go up or down. I mean, we got ourselves in this situation, basically, you know, we should have had mountain climbing gear, and here we are trying to do it on foot. Everything got slippery, and everything that you're grabbing onto is pulling out of the mountains. But at least where you went, you had stuff to hold on to.
Yeah, that's true.
That was solid, like trees and things.
Yeah,
right?
well, gee, that's a big help.
Yeah. So, anyway, so kind of at the end of the story, how many more times did we attempt to get into that lake?
Oh, 3?
Yeah, about 3 more times we attempted to get to the same lake.
I think.
But see, the story wasn't quite over yet as far as this adventure went, because we got back to the truck and I'm turning the key on the truck and nothing's happening. I'm thinking, we got a dead battery? Did I leave the lights on? So I put the lights on. No, there's plenty of power. And, you know, Finn, boy, what? See, as soon as somebody comes around, he won't leave them alone with a stick. I mean, if it's just me, it's not usually an issue. But he's pestering Jamie. So, well, what is wrong with this truck now, we're thinking? Well, I'm looking around, and I look underneath it, and the starter is just hanging on the wires. The bolts had fallen out, and the starter's just dangling there. So I thought, well, what are we going to do? So I put the starter back in place, and I got a long, solid piece of stick, and I pried it against the exhaust to hold the starter in place. And then Jamie turned the key over, and it fired up, and we got out of there. So, interesting little sequence of events that was not going right for us on this particular trip. And then basically we got back out, just let the starter hang, got back to town. And then
my wife said we were still shaking.
Yeah, that was such an experience. We were still shaking from being scared. But the next time we decided we're going to go look for this lake again, and it had been raining and it was runoff time. We get to the bridge on the one creek, and the bridge had washed out.
No bridge.
No bridge.
It's an omen. We're not supposed to go to that lake.
Not supposed to go to this lake. No Telly Lake. Don't tell anyone where it is, because you don't want to run into these problems we had. But yeah, the bridge was gone. And actually, they never even fixed the bridge for a couple of years.
No.
So it was a couple of years before a person could go in and attempt to look for this lake again. But I think this summer, I think I'm going to try. They fixed the bridge. Because this was several years ago, Jamie, eh?
Yeah, it was.
How long ago, you think?
Long enough to know that I'm not going there again.
Yeah. So quite the experience. I think I'm going to go and try to find this lake again. And hopefully the starter won't fall out. Hopefully I don't get stuck on a cliff or a ledge. And I remember seeing that story about a couple of ladies that were hiking somewhere. And they got stuck on a ledge for like a week. I think it was a week. I'm just trying to remember the story. And they spent nights and nights on this ledge with no food. I mean, it started raining. They had like a tent, shelter, and some bedding.
Yeah, I'll go with you
But
again, but we'll
you
be
will?
better
More prepared?
More prepared.
Okay, so there you have it. Jamie will agree to go back and try again.
Sure.
You know, maybe we'll have to get a helicopter.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for watching the Fireside Chat. And maybe we'll have another adventure looking for the same lake in the future. I know I'd really like to find it because a lot of times when I find these lakes, the fishing is really good usually because nobody goes there. Right on. We'll see you on the next one. Okay, eat that. I'm going to take off here. Wonder how long it's going to take Finn to eat that. But he's pretty good at this too, watch. Okay, go, go. Sit, sit, sit. Shake the ball, shake the ball. Okay. And it's quite the noise you make, Finn, when you eat. Oh well, horses, they do the same thing. Ah, I've seen people make noise like that too. Okay, you should be good for the night. Well, it is time for a fireside chat. I ran out of wood at camp, so get some wood. Might cook some sausages, but keep it simple. Just hung up. Hopefully. Come on. Oh, there she goes. I ain't Paul Bunyan, but sometimes I feel like it. Okay, well that's enough for now. It's just for the fireside chat. I'll come back. Get the rest of this tomorrow probably. We'll just load this up and have our fireside chat. See, the mosquitoes have come out already. It's only April, but first warm day and they're out. Crocuses are out. It's nice to see the onions and crocuses and things like that coming out. Doesn't take much. My pine is nice and dry. This is lodgepole pine and it burns pretty good. I like to use it for fires actually. It just burns very quickly, as you can see. Man, I'm pretty worried about this summer. They're talking about another drought and a pile of forest fires again. And I tell you, last year was a record in BC for forest fires, and they say this year is going to be worse. It's pretty scary. I am hoping that the predictions of a drought and all these fires is wrong, because it was so bad last year. The smoke was so thick that you couldn't see like 100 yards sometimes when we had the fire just up the river here. I just don't want to see that again. I'd rather have a rainy summer than have all these fires. There's another story involving my buddy Warren, and basically we had planned on going bear hunting into an area that was called the Soda Walls near Fernie, BC. And the idea was we were going to go bear hunting. Unbelievable, here's the smoke again. Hey, that's going to be one of the main themes of the fireside chat, is the smoke, I guess. But anyway, we had this planned out. So the one weekend we went, we built this camp, we built a fire pit, we cut a bunch of wood. The next weekend we were supposed to go and do this bear hunt. Now, I don't really like bear hunting, and I didn't want him really to get a grizzly. I just find grizzlies are just too majestic to want to shoot. Basically, I was kind of against that. I wanted to kind of tag along, yeah, to give him some help if he got a black bear. Even though I've had close calls and encounters, I still appreciate their majesty. So anyway, that was the plan. The following weekend, I'm heading up there to the camp. And I had my old 79 Bronco. I've had a few of them. and I'm driving up into the area, and I'm getting fairly close because it was quite a drive from where I was. And I get within maybe about 15 kilometers, which would be 7 miles. I hit a pothole and my truck just died. That was it. It wouldn't start, it wouldn't turn over, nothing, it just died. Now, I spent about an hour trying to figure out, well, why will this thing not start? It wouldn't crank over, it wouldn't do nothing. Okay, well, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna wait here. I figured, well, I've got enough time to hike in to where we built the camp and just go from there. He can give me a ride back. I started hiking, but here's the thing, and I've learned my lessons the hard way for the most part throughout my career in the bush. I didn't go prepared. I didn't bring my rifle. It's too heavy. I didn't bring my coat. Well, it was warm out. All I brought was a lighter. That was it. You know, I had fishing gear, but I wasn't going to pack all this stuff. Well, let's just go get my buddy. We'll come back to my truck and get my stuff. So off I went, thinking I had enough daylight to get to the spot. We didn't take a road. We kind of made our own little trail through the bush and over this creek and up on this plateau little thing. So nobody would have found the spot. It was kind of our private little hunting camp. So off I go. I'm hiking, and then I'm thinking, man, I don't know if I'm going to get there before dark, because you think of 7 miles, it takes a little while, and by the time I get near the location, I'm thinking, man, I've still got probably almost an hour, and it seems to me it's going to be dark in about half an hour. Well, I was pretty much right. So I get to the spot where we built the camp. I see the fire pit. I don't see a fire going, and I'm wondering why. But by now, it's dark enough that I've got to flick my lighter to see the trail. And I'm thinking, well, why don't I see the fire going? You know, we had all this firewood, and he had his trailer that he pulled in there with his Toyota 4Runner. I get to the fire pit, he's not even there. He packed up and decided to move the camp to another location. I'm thinking, well, this is just great. He took all the firewood. And lo and behold, if it doesn't start to rain, okay, and I got no coat, I got no tarp, I got no blankets, I got nothing now. And I'm thinking, well, I can't really get out of here in the dark. Now, you see, it would have been good to at least have a flashlight. I could have probably got back to the truck. I didn't bother to do that. Okay, well, only one thing to do. We got to get a fire going. It's starting to rain. I got to stay warm for the night. So I'm flicking the lighter in the bushes, and I'm collecting a bunch of firewood with my lighter. Piled it all up by the fire pit, and I got my fire going. You know, the things you wish you would have brought in that situation. I mean, I couldn't have hiked out of there, I don't think. I mean, if I had a flashlight, yeah. But anyway, I made do. But yeah, this was the worst night. I get it built up. I actually did collect enough wood to last the night, like bigger stuff that I drug out of the bush, and kept that fire going all night. But now the fire, it gets big enough and it gets light enough that all of a sudden, like around the fire pit, I see these grizzly tracks, and they're not little, I'm telling you. We got a big bear in the area, like a big grizzly. And if he was after a grizzly, he should have just stayed there. Well, now I'm kind of worried because I didn't bring a rifle. I didn't bring anything except a lighter. That was it. And I'm thinking, oh man, this is just great. What am I going to do except cuddle by the fire? And that's what I did. So, I mean, the rocks eventually, they were about the size of big footballs, and they eventually heated up enough. I had to snuggle against the rocks, get myself warmed and dried and turned and tossed. But you don't get sleep in these situations. And the thing is, it's just better not to get in these situations, let's face it. How was I to know that he wouldn't be there? Like, the whole plan was to be there. Sometimes things happen in the bush that you just can't expect, can't plan on. In hindsight, I sure wish I would have bought the rifle. Now I see these big grizzly tracks. And they're all through the camp, and they're fresh too. Like, and I don't know, maybe that's why he moved. I didn't even ask him that. I should have. So now I'm cuddled against the rocks. I keep the fire going all night. I'm hearing all this crashing in the bush. Now I know the sounds in the bush at nighttime. And I know this is a big animal. This is not a deer. This is not a coyote. So what's the first thing that's going through my mind? That grizzly showed up. And this is like the middle of the night. And I'm thinking, oh my. Well, now what? Okay. Let's just hope he doesn't come into camp, okay? No, it could have been a moose. I never did see the animal, but it was right there. I could hear it, but it was one or the other probably, because you can tell. Like a deer is way more quiet. Big bears like that, they just crash through the bush. They just break the branches and trees right out of their way. So I knew it was a big animal. So next morning I wake up and my arm, like I say, is just so sore. And I'm thinking, what the heck? And I look at my arm and it was just bulged out and burnt from leaning on the rocks. And I didn't even wake up. Like, I guess I wasn't touching them, but I was slow cooking my arm beside these rocks. And that's that scar that you see. See that scar? That's from snuggling up too close to the rocks, and I just burnt my whole arm, slow cooked it. So finally relief comes, it gets light. Next morning light comes, it's not raining. Okay, well, I gotta hike out of here and get back to the truck at least where I got my gear. So I hike back, and then I get about maybe 300 or 400 yards from my truck, and I see these tracks kind of going off the road over this little hill into the bush, and like just pushed the grass down like it wasn't a road or anything. I look at these tracks and I'm thinking, you know what? That's my buddy Warren's tracks. I follow the trail and I go in there about 500 yards, and sure enough, there he is. He broke down or set up camp right near where I broke down. Like within 300 yards, there he set up another camp, and I walked right by it to the first camp we had set up, and there he was, all along, right near my truck. Can you imagine? But it was a great relief. I made it through the night, but it was a miserable, scary night. Could have been that bear, I don't know. But all I'm saying is it's pretty scary. From that time on, I never even took any kind of a hike very far from the truck without my rifle. But yeah, what a night that was. I'm telling you, I've learned the hard way, like I say. Boy, even if you think you know, okay, it's all going to work out, at least bring a couple things. It would have been nice to have my coat, would have been nice to have a flashlight and my rifle. I would have felt way better. But that was a scary, difficult night, mentally, physically. Burnt myself up, but I survived. Hung out at his place. We had coffee in the trailer there, and then we went back to my truck, and I actually figured out the problem with the truck. What it was in these old Broncos, these 79s, they've got a starter relay on the quarter panel under the hood, and one of the wires, it's got 3 wires, had broken off. But you couldn't really tell because they were still in the plastic. And I just started pulling on those, and well, why won't we get the starter to turn on? Pull on one of those wires and it pulled right off. It broke that wire, and that was the problem. Hooked it up, bang, truck started, great. And then we did actually end up finishing the bear hunt that weekend, but we never did get a bear. I was kind of glad because I'm not a bear hunter, but that's quite the story. I'll never forget that night. That was spooky. Spooky, kids. But anyways, I'm going to cook something up here, and next time I'm going to tell a couple of stories of my time in Patagonia on the Alone show, and pretty interesting stories as well of a couple of things I went through there that are very unusual as well. And sometimes it makes me think that there's somebody on your side in situations, and you'll see what I mean on the next Fireside chat. But that was a terrible, terrible night for me. No, I hope none of you get in that situation. It's got some mild Italian sausage. That's good enough. Sometimes I just don't feel like cooking as far as like a big dinner. Sometimes, I mean, I'm going to do a couple of really good dinners soon. Like, I want to do a complete turkey dinner on the fire. Sometimes simple's good. Almost bedtime for me anyway. This camera is great. Like, for low lighting like this, it's actually darker than you think. It's going to be dark soon, so we'll cook these up. Yeah, I was thinking, you know, what would I have done if that big grizzly did come into camp? I'll often think about that one, you know. Like nobody can take on a grizzly bear with your bare hands. Oh, except maybe Samson in the Bible. He used to take on lions and tear them in half and stuff, but other than that, can't think of anybody. What I'd like to do, because this is a story of Patagonia, an interesting fishing story, but I'd like to just catch a pan fry here that I can cook on the fire while I'm doing the fireside chat. Just makes things a little more interesting. The stories are interesting and intriguing as well, but if I can catch a pan fry to cook up to go along with the story, even better. I got one. Oh, just a little cutty. Maybe I can get another one. There we go. Yeah, he's about 8 inches. Good enough. Didn't take long. But you know how it goes with fishing, especially in a survival situation. You don't want to quit, so maybe I won't. Cool. I got another one here. Another smaller cutty. He's similar to the other one. Maybe a smidgen bigger. He won't stop flopping around, but I think this guy is maybe an inch longer. We'll compare the two and get on with our fireside chat. It's a good fishing story from Patagonia. Okay, so I was right. The one I just got now, if I hold them perfectly straight to each other, about an inch longer. I don't know, I don't have to measure them. The one is probably close to 10 inches. The other one's 8.5 maybe. But anyways, nice little pan fries to start with our fireside chat. Let's get on it. Fish is done. I love fish, I just do. That is good. Nothing like fresh trout out of the lake into a frying pan. So, Patagonia. 2016, Alone Season 3. And it was day 42. Okay. Now, I was down on my luck. Now, I'm telling you, like, it was very discouraging at this point because I hadn't caught any fish in several days. And, man, I was getting hungry. All I was living on at that time was plantain tea. I would check my fishing set lines at the lake, at the creek, nothing on them. Couple of times I checked lines and the bait was gone, but no fish. So when you go several days without eating like that, it's very discouraging. But the interesting part of this story is how this particular day turned out. It's quite something. I went from the highest high, or the lowest low, to the highest high all in one day. And you know, I've talked to a lot of the people from the Alone Show, other seasons as well. I know quite a few from various seasons. And I noticed that there's something in common that we all had, anybody that gets on the show. You can go from super low, depressed, because you're not getting what you need, no food, to super high when you get a big game animal or catch a fish. So it's just up and down like a roller coaster, your emotions. But this was actually probably the worst day to begin with, that turned out to be one of the best days. So I went out, I'm gonna check my lines. It's getting a little hot here now. And I checked the first line, nothing. Second line, nothing. Third line, nothing. I had 4 lines, I believe. No, I had 5. So fourth line, nothing as well. I checked my last line, which was on a creek. Now there was a big stump or log that went across the creek from one side to the other. And there was a pool right where this log was that was maybe 6 feet deep. Okay. And I get to that 5th line, and I actually had the biggest fish that I had caught the entire time I was there. It was like a really nice, probably 3-pound rainbow. And it was on my line, but it was wrapped around these branches and sticks and everything at the bottom of this 6-foot pool of water. But anyway, I got a long stick and I'm trying to work this fish off of these tangled roots and sticks and everything, like from the big log. Because I mean, it's right there at the bottom, but I mean, it's not like I want to dive in really and get it. I played around for, I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes with this fish, trying to unravel it, but it went around different branches and this and that, and I just could not get this fish off. And it's fighting the whole time, so I don't know how long it had been on there. But regardless, I played around with it until it snapped the line. Right near its mouth, I could see it snapped the line, and the fish just took off up the creek. Well, you know, you get so depressed when things like this happen and you really need something to eat. I remember I sat down on the log, and I'm just thinking, man, I gotta get something to eat. And by now, I'm actually down to 4 hooks, because I had 5 hooks, but the fish broke off. I was using my last 5 hooks at this point. That'll be another story why I lost so many hooks to begin with. Like within the first 2 weeks, I had lost most of my hooks because there were so many snags in the lake and this and that. Finally, I went to bobbers instead of going to the bottom. But in this particular creek, I went to the bottom kind of thing because it was usually safe to fish there doing it that way. But anyway, so now I sat down on this log and I'm thinking, well, man, I don't know what to do. So depressing, so depressed. I sat down there and I actually prayed. I remember praying, man, just give me something to eat today. Just something. Really need something. I did that and I felt better. Emotionally, just asking for some help. I just felt way better. So I carried on upstream. I had collected some of the hooks from my other set lines. I'm gonna go up the creek, do some more hand line fishing. Like, not set lines right now, but just do some fishing further upstream. So I went up quite a ways and I found a nice looking little spot to try some fishing. I dug up a couple worms and baited the hook up, tied a little rock on, threw it out into this good looking spot where it was a pool and kind of went into slow moving water. Just kind of like worked it. Well, within 2 minutes, wham, I had a nice one on. And this one was even bigger. This was like a 3.5 pound rainbow right away. And I got that one in, no problem, and I couldn't even believe it. Like, it was just, everything's going good now. So now your whole attitude just changes. It's unreal. Now I got enough fish for 2 days now. So man, what a relief it was to just get that one fish. Anyway, so now I head back after a little bit. I fished a bit more, but I didn't get anything. Doesn't matter, I've got that real nice fish now. I head back down, I'm gonna set my lines again, okay? So I go to that big log across, that's the first one I'm gonna set on the way back because it was the last one I had checked. And I get there, and I'm gonna set my line. I should explain too, like this log was like halfway in the creek underwater and half of it above the water, okay? So I get back there and I'm getting ready to set my line, and I just look up the creek a little bit, and I see this fish floating down the creek, and it came right up to the log that I'm going to set my line on and just stopped. It was the fish that got away on me and went upstream. Imagine. So now I got 2 fish. I got that one back and my hook back. So what a day. I mean, this fishing is just going great now. I retrieved my hook and got my fish back. Now, it just doesn't seem like coincidence to me the way some things go sometimes. And that wasn't even the end of the day. So now I'm hiking back to camp, which was a bit of a hike. You know, probably half an hour hike because my fishing spots were where my camp was, you know, I had some set lines in the lake, but I had some in this creek, and that's where I was coming from. I'm hiking back, and I look at this trail. I'm thinking, you know, it's kind of strange because you know, it was thick forest there where the trail was to my fishing spots at the creek. But I look through the thick bush and I kind of see light. Just the way the sun was shining. It was shining on this patch of green at the bottom, and I thought, well, what is that down there? And it was kind of a greenish, yellow, red colors. I thought, I don't know, I gotta go check that out. I didn't really want to hike in there because you're kind of tired. I haven't eaten for a while. But I hiked in there anyways. It wasn't that far. Fought my way through the jungle to get to this clearing. Well, lo and behold, this whole swampy little section of maybe half an acre, not even, was just loaded with berries. The berry bushes were just hanging, like it was so thick with berries in that one little patch. It was just unbelievable. Now, I didn't pick any berries that day, but I came back the next day and I picked berries in there for 2 or 3 days straight, which got me through a hard situation too, because I would just ration myself with a handful of berries a day, you know, and I must have picked 50 pounds of berries by the time I was done the next day in that patch. So, you know, it just doesn't seem like this whole day was coincidence. You pray about something, and these things just happen like that, one after the other. Catching the biggest fish, retrieving my other fish, finding this huge patch of berries that kept me going for days after that. So, you know, it sometimes makes you wonder, doesn't it? But I love getting out in nature. It's easy to get discouraged in life, but just remember, sometimes things turn around and are totally different. So you can go from the worst low to the greatest high all in the same day. So keep the faith, be patient, don't get depressed, don't get discouraged. Hopefully some of you find encouragement from my little fishing story, and I really appreciate all of you watching, appreciate you subscribers, appreciate all you viewers, and I really hope that I cheered some of you up with my little fishing story in Patagonia. Nothing like fire, eh? It's just, boy oh boy, man's best friend in the bush other than Finn. I know it's been a long time since we had a fireside chat. It's due to various reasons. I mean, there was a fire ban all summer, and yes, the fire ban's been off for a while, but I've been busy doing other things like the 3-day survival challenge, and I'm up north hunting now, and I just haven't been able to get the fireside chat going in motion again. So I mean, I can't really do a fireside chat during a fire ban. Obviously I can't have the fire, and to me a fireside chat without a fire is like a marshmallow roast without marshmallows. What we would do is just change this up a little bit. I kind of, instead of just telling a true story, I mean I will continue telling stories, what I wanted to do was talk about venomous snakes, venomous spiders, and then compare that to toxic plants and mushrooms and show you some similarities. We're just going to talk about the snakes first, and then we'll get to the other stuff. The 3 most venomous snakes all live in Australia, and for those who don't know, the inland taipan is by far the most venomous snake on the planet. And then next to that, also from Australia, is the eastern brown snake. Highly deadly snake as well. And you'll remember when I was in Australia that I had a run-in with that eastern brown snake, and at the time I wasn't really thinking how dangerous of a situation that was for both myself and my son-in-law Marco's brother Gilbert, because the snake had gotten out, and you remember when I lifted the lid up, it was right by my elbow. Then it got out, was underneath the container when we were trying to move it. And the problem would have been, if either one of us would have been bitten by that, the nearest hospital was an hour away. You're going to start to see symptoms from that snake within half an hour to an hour. It's that venomous. You know, if you're in a country like that, boy, you can't mess around with these things. You can buy yourself a little bit of time by having a tincture bandage and wrap it tight above where the bite is. Buys a little time. I did have one of those. If I can get one at a hospital, I'll take a kit for the brown snake, and also what they have on the farm is the red-bellied blacks, and they're highly venomous as well, but not nearly as bad as the eastern brown. The inland taipan is kind of a skittish snake. It tries everything to avoid you, and the reason there just hasn't been fatalities because of it, it lives in an area way out in the middle of the country where there's no people, and thus there's just not any encounters with it. But it is the most venomous snake on the planet. They say that the eastern brown is more aggressive, because I found that that snake, it did everything to try to get away from us. It didn't come after us, and I've seen videos where people defend the snake and say, hey, they're not as bad as you think. They try to avoid you as well. In Australia, that causes the most fatalities is the eastern brown, because it's in populated areas near the cities like Sydney, other villages and towns, ranch land, surrounding ranches. So that's why there's more encounters with that particular snake that causes the most fatalities in Australia. The inland taipan, it has enough venom to be fatal for up to 100 people. 100, not 10, 100. That's how venomous that snake is. You know, you kind of wonder to yourself, well, why would a snake have to be that venomous? I mean, it's just eating rats and mice and smaller reptiles. It's just hard to fathom the amount of venom, or how venomous that snake is. That just seems like overkill. It's just so venomous. But I said the inland taipan is the most venomous on Earth, on the planet. But there is one in the ocean that's even more venomous. That actually, there is a fifth snake that I was going to talk about. Causes the most fatalities on the planet. These snakes, they must be very prevalent, but they live in highly populated areas of India, Africa, and even other countries that are highly densely populated. And the run-in with this snake must be horrendous. And they say that this snake is very aggressive. And it's not even very big, 1 foot to 2 feet long. A lot of people can be bitten by this and survive it fine, but it does bite several times and will inject more and more venom. So there is a lot of fatalities, more than any other snake. And that's the saw-scaled viper, or carpet viper.
We're supposed to lose between 20 and 50,000 people every year to snake bite. But from the saw-scale viper exactly, we don't know.
Well, I can talk about the spider before I get to wood. The most venomous spider in the world, also from Australia, is the Sydney funnel web spider, and they tend to be aggressive as well. They will come after you and not back down, and larger spider, huge fangs, big fangs, like an inch long. They are the most venomous spider in the world. But there's lots of venomous spiders all over the world, and I mean, I'm sure some of you know of some in your area. Yes, you would have to get treatment. You'd have to go to a hospital if you were bit by one of these spiders. In comparison to, say, like an inland taipan or the brown snake, where you have half an hour to an hour and you've got to get the anti-venom, the spider, even that one, you have several hours. 5, 6 hours. It's not like you just got to rush right off to the hospital. Well, you wouldn't delay. So that's a little comparison between the spider situation and the snakes. Snakes are far more deadly to deal with than any of the spiders. Hopefully you find these statistics and stuff interesting, and you're going to take the time to look it up, because it is fascinating. Nature's fascinating no matter what. So then we go to, like, say, poisonous plants, toxic plants. And there's a lot of similarities in the way they affect you. Like if you take your water hemlock, UYEW, the shrub, and I'm going to deal with that one in particular. It's got many different poisonous, toxic alkaloids that are fatal. But the main one is taxine B, which really affects you the most, because what it does is it basically attacks your heart, and eventually your heart just gives out and quits working. But it also interferes in the impulses from your brain to make your heart not operate properly. So fluctuating heartbeats, but then ultimately it's attacking your heart where it just shuts down. Cardiac arrest is the ultimate thing there with that. The only problem with these toxic plants is if you've ingested a fatal dose, there's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do for you. It's just too late. But I just recommend staying right away from you. It kills livestock. Children are the most susceptible, because the arrow on the berry is actually tasty. Looks like a huckleberry, but as few as 6 seeds can be fatal to an adult, and 2 seeds for a child. So that tells you how toxic that plant is. So it is important to learn your plants. I mean, obviously, you know, I try to talk about plants as much as I can, and I know a lot of you viewers are very interested in that. I'm not trying to be doom and gloom about the whole thing, but it is kind of important subject. Now, something I don't know, I couldn't find any research that if birds can eat them, because you remember in one of the other videos I was talking about how birds can eat the baneberries and the things that we can't eat. And like I say, I don't know, I can't find any research if the birds can actually eat the berry, the arrow. See, if you can find something out about that, maybe leave me a comment, because, you know, I'm still learning all these things too. You know, you never know everything. You can't. I mean, it's impossible. Like a bear, for instance, well, I mean, it can eat rotten meat that's going to make us sick. One thing that was interesting, though, is its toxic to dogs, cats, horses, cattle, moose, deer, elk. But one animal that seems immune to it is the badger. I found this very interesting too, because I thought, well, a badger. A badger can actually eat the leaves and the berries with the seeds, everything. It has an enzyme in its stomach and guts that neutralizes all these poisonous alkaloids from the yew. That's interesting. Took me a lot of research to find that. And again, with yew, another interesting fact is that some countries and some places have banned yew from being sold at nurseries. They have banned people from planting them in their yards. That's how much of a concern that this bush, shrub, and tree has become. Yew, be aware of yew. Subject is the mushrooms that we haven't talked about yet. But you know, the mushroom that causes the most fatalities is the amanita. And there's hundreds of varieties of amanita. There's death cap, there's destroying angel. Actually, just up the road here, I saw some amanita muscaria today. They're red with white dots, sometimes orangey with red dots, and it causes the most fatalities of any of the mushrooms. The reason is that, you know, people are becoming more interested in foraging wild plants and foraging mushrooms in particular, and so they mistake the amanita with something else, and thus we have the problem with the poisonings of the mushrooms. And this is why I try to stress, get your plants right, do your own research, don't make mistakes when it comes to wild plants, like whether it's hemlock or camas or amanita mushroom or whatever. Make sure you're right. Double, triple, quadruple research, and make sure you know the plants and things that you're dealing with. So basically, I think that wraps this fireside chat up as far as the chatting part. I'm gonna get my grouse parmigiana on the fire. Hopefully you find these things interesting and you're gonna go and do your own research, because I'd really like it if you did. It's a fascinating subject, nature. You know, there's other interesting things, you know, that we can talk about in the future as far as animals and things like that, and the whales and the birds. And so if you're interested, give the fireside chat a thumbs up if you really find it interesting. You know, like for example, a polar bear. You know, they can swim for a week straight. They can swim 200 miles without touching land. Like, things like this are just fascinating. Nature is fascinating. That's it for the chat about mushrooms, spiders, snakes, and poisonous plants. So right on. Thanks for watching the fireside chat. We will have more, and we'll see you on the next one. Okay, well, I ended up getting 3 grouse. There's my beautiful plate of grouse meat. Nice and cold. I keep the thighs, I keep everything. Now, I left these in the truck overnight, and it was about 15 below almost, or 10 for sure. But I left the feathers on. I always leave them a day before I clean them. The meat is way more tender. You can't eat them the same day. I think I've mentioned it before. And my hands are cold from just cleaning them, but the meat didn't freeze. So we'll get this dinner going. And like I say, check the other video if you want the full recipe. I'm just going to do it up and get it on the fire. Now, doesn't that look yummy? Man, going to be a good dinner. Grouse parmigiana on the fire. It's the best. Man, oh man. Is that ever good? I'm telling you. But try the recipe with chicken as well. I read some comments when I did it the first time, and people really enjoyed it, the people that tried it. So really try that recipe with chicken or grouse if you have them. It's so good. We'll see you on the next fireside chat. it is time for a fireside chat. You know, this time I'm going to tell an interesting story about my worst city experience and my worst working conditions that I've had to deal with. I left from Fernie, BC, headed to Fort McMurray, and I didn't have a vehicle. I basically hardly had enough money for a bus ticket, but I rounded up enough money to get up there. I didn't have to bring tools. The tools were supplied up there. I have had some rough times in the past when I was working out of town. Basically, what had happened, by the time I got to Edmonton, Alberta, on the way there, I had a layover, switch buses, this and that. They had had a forest fire on the highway to go up there, so the bus wasn't going to run that day. So there I am sitting in the bus depot. Well, what am I going to do now? I got no money for a hotel, nothing. I'm sitting around sleeping on the chairs, paper bag of clothes, that's about all I had. But what I did not realize, at midnight, that bus depot in Edmonton shuts down and they kick everybody out. I got nowhere to go, so there I am at midnight with my paper bag of clothes, wandering through the alleys and streets trying to find a spot, because it was getting chilly at night too. No bedding, no nothing. But I went down this one alley, I found a spot. I thought, well, this will do, because they had this heat duct coming out of one of the buildings and it was blowing warm, hot air. I thought, well, I'm just gonna have to spend the night here, go back in the morning and see if the buses are running. I'm trying to get some sleep, but it's hard in a situation like that. Sure enough, I see somebody coming down the alley in the middle of the night, probably 2 in the morning. They come up to me and, buddy, I need some help. He says, I got stabbed. I said, you're kidding. So, you know, I looked at him and sure enough, he had been stabbed in the shoulder. And I said, well, that's not good. You better get to the hospital. I'm talking to this guy for a few minutes there, and I looked at him, and it wasn't a life-threatening thing, but hey, you're gonna need some stitches. It doesn't look good. Get to the hospital. You better get fixed up. And then he's trying to talk me into going and helping him fight these guys that stabbed him. He's telling me that, you know, there was 5 of them and they started pushing me around, and then the one guy stabbed me in the shoulder. Tried to convince this guy, which I did convince him. That's not a good idea, man. There's 5 of them, and you want me to come. We're just going to escalate the situation and maybe both get stabbed or killed. After quite a bit of convincing, he decided, yeah, I guess you're right. I better go to the hospital and we better just leave it alone. And so I was able to reason with the guy. But now after that situation, I mean, I didn't get any sleep, obviously. I mean, you're in a rough part of the city. I stayed there for the night. In the morning, made my way back to the bus depot and waited around half the day. Later in the afternoon, I guess the fire was under control enough that I was able to carry on. That was my worst city experience. Not just no bedding, no heat, and then this situation with this fella. As you'll see as I continue the story, things just didn't really improve for quite a while. I get up to Fort McMurray, and there was a guy, John, and he was going to pick me up at the bus depot. And he was there, he picked me up. And by now, it's getting later in the day, but this is summertime. You know, it's light all the time. I mean, it wasn't getting dark till like midnight. So I had lots of time left to figure something out. But I didn't have money for a motel, so he asked me, well, where are you going to stay? I said, well, I don't really know. He says, well, you could probably stay at the job site, just in one of the places that were drywalling. And I didn't like that idea, really. I says, well, there must be, I mean, I can see there's bush all over the place. I said, do you know anywhere that might be good? He says, well, there is a spot near the airport, and I think there's a man-made lake there. And I says, well, that sounds pretty good to me. I says, maybe you can just drop me off there and pick me up 7:30 in the morning or something, and we'll get working. He was hanging the drywall by himself, actually. He had one of the drywall lifts that lifts the sheets up, and he was doing all the drywall. And by the way, he was a really good boardman, real good drywaller. So we got along pretty good. Keep in mind, I didn't have any food, no bedding. But he dropped me off at the spot, and I hiked to this little lake, and I thought, yeah, this will work. So I started gathering up some moss. The moss was nice and thick to make a bed. You know, as the sun was starting to go down, I'm telling you, the mosquitoes, I've never seen black flies and mosquitoes like there was. And I'm thinking, you know what, these things, there's so many. There was millions and millions. I couldn't even just clouds of them. I've never seen the likes of it anywhere that I've been. And I thought, well, you know, these things are so bad, they could end up killing you. So I basically had to roll up a big roll of moss and roll over myself and make a spot for my head. And I was worried that, hey, they could suck you dry and kill you. There were so many. So it wasn't a very nice second night either. I got through the night. Next morning, sure enough, John picks me up and I go to work for the day. That day, actually, I didn't get a lot done. I'm just getting set up, and I thought, well, man, I don't know what to do about those mosquitoes. What I did was I took some poly off of the job site. So I went back and I made a lean-to out of this poly to try to keep the mosquitoes off. Put my bed inside now. And I had to seal it really good with logs on the bottom and make sure that there was no gaps so the mosquitoes couldn't get in. But now the problem was, because there was still so much daylight, it got so hot in there that it was almost unbearable. You couldn't even stand the heat. It was like a greenhouse. I was just sweating to death all night. Now it's day 2 in this lean-to that I made out of the poly, and I opened it up before dark, before the mosquitoes showed up. Cooled it down enough, and I actually did sleep okay that night. But something interesting happened that night as well. I was lying there, you know, mosquitoes showing up, so I closed it up and I'm lying there, and then it got dark and I'm seeing all these flashing in the trees, like sparkles, different 2 colors. There was like green and red, and I thought, what the heck is this? You know, and I didn't really want to go out at that point and check, because I didn't want to let all the mosquitoes in. I just thought, this is the weirdest thing. Figured it out a day or so later. And what it was this beetle, 1/2 inch long. Must have been their mating time. As it turns out, I don't remember the name of this beetle. They're like a firefly. Green is one sex and the red was another sex, and they're basically flashing back and forth, and this is what they do during the mating season. I'm going to have to research it again and try to figure out what kind of beetle that was, but leave a comment below if you're from the area and you know about these beetles. It was the first time I had ever seen this. But anyway, so that was a better night's sleep, away from the mosquitoes. Again, John, he picked me up next morning, same time. He was punctual, John. So now it's going to be, you know, my 3rd night. Go to work today. And then on the way home, he says, well, you know, I got a few bucks. I don't have a lot. I'm waiting for payday to get paid on a couple of units too. But, you know, here's 20 bucks. Like, get some soup or something, which I did. And then that was a lot nicer to sit by the fire and have something to eat, because, you know, I wasn't sleeping good and I wasn't eating. And man, it makes things tough. Go to work the next day. So now I got to get a unit done as fast as possible so I can get some cash here. Finally got some cash together, and then I bought a few things like some fishing line, because I could see in the evenings that there was fish in this lake jumping. So I picked up some hooks and some fishing line, some bait, and then after work I'd go there, and the first time I tried, wham, I got like a 2-pound rainbow out of that man-made lake. You know, I picked up some more cans of food and some more food, and well, now I'm doing okay, like as far as eating and this and that. Of course, I'd have to leave the poly open on my shelter until the sun kind of went down, or else it just was too hot. It was too hot. It was not a pleasant situation at the time. After my payday, I did finally buy a vehicle, and I was able to stay away from the mosquitoes, park in the shaded areas, and I got some screen and duct tape, and I, you know, like screen door material, and I cut the shape of the window so I could leave the windows down, taped that up, got a nice breeze through there, like in the evenings. I picked up a 79 Bronco, and it wasn't in great shape. It wasn't running that great, pushing blue, and but it was only a $400 truck, and so now that was my shelter and my camping apparatus, as far as I didn't have to stay in my shelter, my poly shelter. Once I had that truck, when I did get paid, much better situation. So I spent a few months in that campsite. You know, it was always cool because I could come back to camp and always catch 1 or 2 fish out of that man-made lake. And it was actually really good. Now I got a bit of money coming in. I was eating better, sleeping better. And then one day, John, he says to me, well, yeah, I'm leaving next week. I said, oh, where are you going? He says, well, I'm going mushroom picking. He says, I just do drywall in between mushroom seasons. He says, because I make better money mushroom picking. I said, you got to be kidding. There's pretty good money in drywall. That was my first introduction to someone that professionally picks mushrooms. So he took off, and I didn't see him again for a long time. As it turns out, you know my buddy Joe, he's a professional mushroom picker as well. This fall, actually, I get this call from Joe, and he's on Vancouver Island picking mushrooms. And guess who he's camped with? John, my buddy that I was working at drywall like 20 years earlier. And there the two of them are camped out and picking mushrooms together. So I talked to John on the phone for the longest time. This year I'm going to have to hook up with him again. He does the mushroom circuit just like Joe. They got talking, and this is why they phoned. Well, you know, John had seen me on the Alone show. Joe obviously knows my whole background and story. They got talking, and I guess it came up about this guy that's a drywaller and now they give me a phone call because John hadn't seen me for years. Now I got to go and camp out with John, maybe do some mushroom picking with Joe and John this year. But I hope you enjoyed the story. True story. It was a rough go as far as the working conditions and the situation I was in at that time. But it did improve. It did improve, but you know, sometimes we go through rough times, but I always keep in mind things always turn around. They always change, and if you do something about your situation, they get better, usually. You know, I've been in rough situations before, but I think that was my roughest working conditions, my worst city experience, and then here at the end, this interesting call this fall from Joe camping with my buddy John, the other mushroom picker. So, till the next one, thanks for watching. Appreciate all you subscribers and all you viewers in general. I'm going to camp here for a couple of nights. Going to do a fireside chat. Hang out here. It's supposed to really rain for the next 2 days, so got a couple of big tarps. I'm going to get that all set up. I got my bed all ready. Tarps all up nice in case it pours rain on us. Fireside chat about 2 legendary lost gold mines. Okay, and one in BC, one in Alberta. First of all, I want to cook something up. I'm going to cook up a burger, have something to eat, then build the fire up for the fireside chat. Okay, that looks ready. Let it cool for a second there. Here, eat that. That's your burger, done the way you like it. So, build the fire up. Tell you 2 legendary stories. Some of it might be myth, but I know for a fact that these people actually existed. I know the stories well. First story is about a guy named Slumac. He was bringing in nuggets into New Westminster in the old days. People tried following him. I'll start off first of all. I used to watch this show in the old days. It was called Gold Trails and Ghost Towns, and basically Bill Barley was the guy. He knew everything. He knew everything about gold. Everything about the gold rush. He remembered everybody's names that were involved. Everything. He had a lot of artifacts from some of these miners of the old days that he had bought or found at auctions, and he knew everything about it. He wrote 4 books about the gold rush, ghost towns, and I had all his books, so I know a lot of the information, and I watched his show. It was on for 10 years. But one time, Dad, my brother, a friend of the family, and his dad, we all went looking for Slumac's mine up a town called Elvin, at the end of Pit Lake, and we went up there looking around. But you know, over 100 years or more, lots of people had looked for this mine of Slumac's. I mean, who doesn't like gold? We went up there and we panned around. But here's the thing to keep in mind, like, gold is pretty prevalent actually. Almost anywhere that I've panned, I find colors. But of course, all the big stuff has been found throughout the last 150, 200 years. Anywhere you go, you find gold, but it's just colors or little flakes. We're talking the huge gold that they got in the old days, the surface gold nuggets. But apparently Slumac was coming into New Westminster, BC with bagfuls of big nuggets, like the size, they say, of walnuts. People tried follow him, he had always elude them. There was actually a TV show about this, and there was a bunch of prospectors, recent TV show, like a couple years ago, and they were looking for Slumac's mine, and they were all up Pitt River, Pitt Lake, and then they went up into Harrison. Nobody's been able to find this lost mine of Slumac's. Slumac ended up going to jail. Ended up shooting a guy that was coming up the river in a canoe, him and a buddy. The buddy survived, the one guy got shot, and then the buddy went back and reported it to the cops, who then put out a manhunt for Slumac. He finally confessed that he had shot this guy, turned himself in, and went to the BC penitentiary in New Westminster. And they actually ended up hanging him. Nobody knows where that mine is to this day. It's just one of those things, but I went looking, hundreds and hundreds of people are still looking. Never been found. We'll get into a second story here. This one's actually even more intriguing in a sense, called the Lost Lemon Mine. It's in Alberta, just over the BC border. It's about a guy, his name was Frank Lemon, and his partner, Blackjack. Apparently, these guys, they found the mother lode, not just nuggets, but a vein of gold that you could just take a pick and chip chunks of gold out. As the story or legend goes, they found this somewhere between the town of Coleman and the Highwood River. And this is around 1879, okay, when they discovered this. Basically, they camped out, but they got in a big dispute over the gold. Frank wanted to pack out as much as he wanted, or they could carry. Blackjack, he said, well, let's go back and get some guys to help us mine it, and they got in this big argument. So that night, Frank ended up killing his partner who discovered the gold with him, Blackjack. What he didn't realize is that at that time, like, this is the territory of the Blackfoot natives. They had been followed for days by 2 warriors from the tribe that actually witnessed them finding the gold, and also they saw Frank kill his partner. The mystery deepens because the 2 warriors, they went back to the chief, Chief Bear's Paw, and they told him what happened. They said, well, these 2 guys, prospectors, they found all this gold, and then the one guy killed his partner. Chief said, well, we're going to keep it quiet. And then basically, as the legend goes, he put a curse on that area that anybody that found this location of gold, the source of this gold, he put a curse on it. Now the story gets even more intriguing. Now I don't know how many people believe in curses, but I kind of do. This Chief Bearspaw, I mean, he was an old warrior, he was the chief, the medicine man, and when he put a curse on this, why would the following events take place if it didn't work out or if it isn't true. So anybody since that time that's gone looking for or has apparently discovered this has had weird things happen where they either disappear or they die mysteriously. After that, there was another fella, Lafayette French fella, and he knew about this as well. He claims that he discovered where the source was, where Frank had discovered the gold and blackjack, and he even made a map of the area, right where it was, this and that. So he was staying in a trapper's cabin, and now he found the source of the gold, apparently. Well, the night that he found the gold, cabin burned down. He escaped with his life, but the maps were gone, destroyed, and everything, but he had it in his mind anyway. So he made his way into town, and then he wrote a letter to his friend Dan Riley, and he says, I found the gold. Come and join me. We'll go back in there and get this gold. So this Dan Riley, he shows up to meet up with him and this and that. Well, he suddenly had died of pneumonia. So now, obviously, the trip's off. There's been dozens of rumors of people looking for this, that they found people looking for it that just perished. Who knows? Hypothermia, could be whatever. But just mysterious deaths surrounding this lost lemon mine. Is the curse true? I think it could be. Nobody's ever discovered that either. Other people have gone looking, like I say, gone missing. But that's a big area to look. He confessed to a priest that, yeah, I killed my partner, we found all this gold. And the priest, actually, after his demise, organized a search party. And that went all wrong. He got John McDougall, and he went out looking for this. And within the first couple of days, he drank too much and died of alcohol poisoning, if you can believe it. The search party failed. They returned home. Now nobody knew where it was again. And just on and on these stories go. And there's people still looking for the lost lemon mine to this day. Will it ever be found? Recent stories from the 40s and the 50s is that a rock slide may have buried the actual location and nobody can actually get to it. That's the latest information that I know of. But here's something interesting. I actually got an email from a production company in the UK, like out of London. They got a hold of me and then they phoned me. I said, well, here's my number, give me a call. And they wanted to know if I knew anything about the Lost Lemon Mine. And I said, well, yeah, I know approximately where it is. I know the whole story of the Lost Lemon Mine. I've read the books. They wanted a survivalist to go and look for the Lost Lemon Mine. They even said, kind of a silly question, well, do you know where it is? And I'm thinking, I didn't say it, but I'm thinking, well, if I knew where it was, do you think I'd tell you just for a TV show? Don't you think I'd go and get the gold myself? That was kind of a strange question. That fell through. They never really pursued it, I imagine, because they never got back to say, okay, we're going this time, that time, and whatever. But interesting stuff. I believe that really it is a cursed mine. So like this production company wanted me to go look for it, try to help them. They wanted a survival guy that's good in the bush, send a crew, camera crew, everything else. Lost mines and all these treasures that, and they are out there because these are true stories, but a lot of it I think is embellished. But at the same time, I believe the Lost Lemon Mine will never be found. Same as Slumax. It's one of those things, we all love a treasure hunt, right? I do. I always have a gold pan in my truck. I'm going to try panning this creek, and actually I saw a gravel bank just up the road here that I want to try. It's very interesting, layered. Black, dark dirt, and then iron ore type gravel and layered. And I want to try that before this video's over and see if there's any colors. Just finding colors even is amazing. But I don't recommend going looking for the Lost Lemon Mine or Slumax, Lost Mine, or any of that. Be great to find. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you on the next one. I got a good one coming up. Right on. Okay, well, the first thing I want to do is clean my pan out. Make sure There's no colors from a previous panning situation. I've seen colors get stuck to the bottom. Make sure there's nothing. Otherwise, you know, you don't know where you found it. Oh, you think it's from this spot, but it's actually something that was in the pan from previous. I got half a pail. I'll have to, it'll take a little bit of time. And you know what I was thinking when the that production people about the show to look for the Lost Lemon Mine is maybe I should go and check that area for some gold. I've never panned that area. I know approximately where they supposedly found it, and just pan around and see. Quite a bit in here. It'll take me a bit of time. I see black sand, which is always a good sign. No guarantees there's any colors here, but I always check spots, like I say, that gravel that looks like that, layered, different colors, and especially with the iron ore. Thought I saw a flake, but it wasn't. You sure wouldn't make any money panning. Back in the old days, they made money at it, but at like $3 or $4 an ounce. But they were finding, you know, nuggets like this. Gotta take your time when you're panning, or your gold will float out if you do it too fast. Okay, let's see. Is there any sign of anything? Well, I just don't see anything. Not even a color. But, never hurts to try. It just doesn't. Thanks for watching. Got good videos coming up this year. I promise. I'm going to do some survival stuff too. But, thanks for watching the Fireside Chat. And we'll see you on the next one. Well, you guys, it's time for a fireside chat. Now, you might notice I have a chair here. I got a special guest, and he's going to show me how he starts his fires, okay? So, without further ado, Mr. Steve Wallace. There he is. Hey?
Good to be here.
Hey?
Yeah, we're going to get a fire going.
Well, you're going to get a fire going.
I know how to do it.
Okay, he's got tricks. He's got tricks, you guys. But hey, fire's #1 in the bush. Survival, whether it's camping or survival itself, fire's #1.
You know what's number 2? Step number 2?
Step number 2 is what?
Step 2 is a beer.
Okay, well, I'm actually going to get Steve to try my huckleberry wine. I tested it myself, but I need a connoisseur like yourself.
I've had a wine or two.
Okay, so I want to get his opinion on my huckleberry wine too. So, right on, let's see how you start a fire.
Let's do it.
Check out Steve's magical way of getting a fire going. We happen to have some nice handy firewood.
I love it when people pay it forward, and I encourage everybody to do that too. Don't bring it home with you. Like, it's up a mountain road in the middle of nowhere. Just leave it.
For the next camper. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I would do, for sure.
So we also going to ration the wood we got, because I don't want to go scavenging for wood.
Okay.
Like if we have to, we will. But basically, I do like a top-down fire.
Uh-huh.
Old Black Betty here.
Old Black Betty?
Yep. Can't believe that didn't go.
Well, yeah, no, it's not going yet. I think you still got some, we did have flame in there still, but.
I did.
However you get the fire going, it doesn't matter to me.
There's no wrong way to start a fire. Right?
There is no wrong way.
Go a little slower. Much more on top. Yeah, it's the top-down fire method.
Okay, Finn, that's enough now. We're doing a fireside chat. Even though the fire's over there, we're kind of doing it where we have better lighting. It's not the best lighting over there.
Yeah, we're baking in the sun because you need to get a full-frame camera.
Well, yeah, no doubt. But I want Steve to try my homemade wine. I tasted it, but like I say, I need a second opinion for sure. So,
whip it out. Yeah, come on, come on. Do you want it thrown or do you want to just tease me with it? He's not letting go.
People have been trying it. I'm running out. I got to make more this year because it turned out, I think. I actually brought you a special wine glass.
Oh, that's downright fancy. You're a sophisticated man. Wow.
Well, not really.
Real glass, too. How about that?
There you go. So, you gotta try this.
We're not just going moonshine stein out of a bottle.
I won't give you too much in case it got a little cloudy. Maybe it's still fermenting, but it shouldn't matter.
Oh, it's probably got jostled on the logging road up here.
It did. It did. So. But anyways, give her a go, and then I want to ask Steve a couple questions.
Chat. Cheers. Yeah, nothing better. Actually, it's really delicious. It is.
Good, isn't it?
You know,
It got a
usually
little cloudy.
Usually people say, well, you want to try my homemade wine. It's bad. But this is good.
Isn't that good?
Yeah, despite the fact that it's a scorching hot day and we're sitting here in the sun, wine is
well, after this video, we're going to go to the shade and maybe maybe even a swim in the lake. It's pretty warm out today.
It is. Cheers.
That's
yeah,
pretty good, man.
This is good. You know, I can get behind this.
I was curious, like, how you came up with this idea of stealth camping.
I think most people have done it their whole lives, like starting when you're a teenager. You know, you have that little secret spot in the woods that you go out and you camp for the night, you make a fire. You're not supposed to be there. You're not supposed to be doing it. And it is a bit of a thrill. You know, there was times that...
Living on the edge.
Living in a gray zone, right? We used to go out and camp. We'd set up a tent and like on a walking trail in the city, just off the walking trail. And I remember coming up with excuses in the morning, you know, people coming by and I'm poking my head out of the tent and say, oh, I'm out here bird watching, or I'd come up with something. Bird watching's always a great one.
Right.
But it's just fun to go camping, like not in a campground. Some of it's a little silly, you know, like in the middle of a roundabout or whatever. But
that was one of my favorite videos of Steve's, was the roundabout with the shrubs and you could hide in there, remember? You must get harassed once in a while though. By the police or anything?
It's never happened. Never happened.
Never happened.
It's there was a close call. I think once there was some it was in a residential kind of area in a city in the park. And there was somebody walking by with a flashlight, and I think it was like, it wasn't police or anything, it was somebody who lived in the area. And, you know, they were calling out, hey, is somebody out there? Somebody out there? And I packed up and got out of there. Like, it's... A security guard, I think, chased after me once. I was out on the side of the highway in a median, but they were doing construction on a pipeline, so they had security there.
Okay.
And there could be protesters and stuff on pipelines, so they're probably keeping a good eye out for somebody camped in the bush beside their project. But it's
But you spend some time on the island. Steve and I will get together, do some salmon fishing. You into that? On the island?
I don't like salmon that much, but we catch a halibut.
But a halibut. Okay, well, we'll go catch a halibut for the halibut.
That sounds right up my alley. And you know what? We're gonna actually cook on my channel, I'll cook a good meal for once. It won't be like a package of dried noodles and sausage and a can of something. It's going to be better.
Like gourmet. So he's going to cook me a gourmet meal in the future. That would be good.
We'll try it. That's the secret is...
Actually, like I say, I'm going to do some cooking this year of some wild plants. I didn't find you any wild onions yet. I promised that, so I got to do that.
Mushrooms?
But, oh, hey, yeah, there's a fire all around us here. This is one of my favorite lakes.
The fire isn't happening right now.
It's not happening now. This was last year.
It's burned out.
But there should be some morels maybe we can cook up and see what we can do. We could try a couple casts from the dock, see if we can get a fish or do something like that.
We're just kind of hanging out. This is going to be a
We're
great day.
hanging out.
Beautiful day in the sun.
Beautiful day.
Finn's having fun with his stick. He won't even let me throw it for him.
No, I really appreciate your time. Doing the fireside chat with Steve's great.
Anytime somebody invites me out for homemade wine on a nice day, by a fire, by a beautiful lake, I'm down for that.
Well, there you go. I mean, so it's not always stealth camping. Sometimes real camping's good too.
You know, I wanted a serious channel, like back in the day. I didn't start off to be a stealth camper or do these gimmicky little stunt camping things. But they got pretty fun to do over the years. Like I was out there trying to, you know, construct bush showers and stuff like that, and looking for wildlife. That's most of my videos I'd spend driving around on these back roads looking for a bear or...
yeah. And I mean, hey, finding the wildlife, man, that just adds to the whole trip, eh?
Best one I saw was this blonde black bear. It was pretty much blonde except with, dark paws and like a little bit of a dark snout, but just blonde the rest of it.
Well, that's very interesting because actually I saw this bear one time near Creston. Excuse me, near Creston, and it was a cinnamon bear with a black head.
Yeah.
Now, isn't that unusual?
That is, and when I saw that bear, I thought, oh please, I hope nobody shoots this thing because it's beautiful, and that's exactly what people would want to shoot, though, probably for the make a rug out of that guy.
I've always been against bear hunting myself because the meat to me is not that good. I've had some good bear sausage, mind you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'd rather see them in the wild, not hanging on somebody's wall. Finn is pestering Steve, no?
Well, that's everything off camera. Yeah, you can't even really see Finn on the camera here. But yeah, it's not imaginary. There's actually a dog here.
Up here. Oh, no, we didn't even get you in the film. There.
Yeah.
Come on, you got to get in there, Finn. Steve and I are going to hang out in the future. It's been great. We actually couldn't get out and do this video yesterday because there was hockey.
Hockey games. Keep coming on, and we're rooting for the same team.
I would like to see a Canadian team win, and so we've been following hockey a bit.
It would be pretty good. So then, like the last couple of days, we've been, renting a little cabin to stay at. There's a couple of little cabins. And I've got my girlfriend's out here, and she's actually minding the cabin that I'm staying in right now.
She's holding the fort.
Holding down the fort.
Well, we get out and do some videos and...
yeah, but you're so uncomfortable in like a cabin. So I know Finn's uncomfortable being in a cabin, but it's like you're...
No. He does not want to be in the cabin. He doesn't like motels. But when he's out here, you see how he is. Like, he's just happy.
Yeah. Okay? So your back is hurting pretty bad because you haven't been in your hammock in a bit?
Well, there you go, too. Yeah, every time I stay in a motel, my back starts to act up. But if I'm sleeping in my hammock, my superior gear, and what type of hammock you got?
So I got a Hennessy. They're made actually, I think, on Vancouver Island.
Is that right?
Yeah, they're a Canadian one. I dreamed of having that hammock years ago. I went out and I bought it on a credit card, and it was, I thought, the most irresponsible purchase of my life at that point. Like buying this.
How much are they?
I forget. It wasn't even that much, but back then money was really tight. So spending $200 or $300 on a hammock with the little snake skins that close it all back together, that just seemed downright irresponsible. And I love that hammock. I used it so much. But actually now, Tom Hennessy, I think that he's the owner of the company. He's and
okay, Finn, we're doing a fireside chat now.
Yeah, the owner of the hammock company watches my channel now, and he's sent me some.
Okay, go get the flies, Finn.
Some other hammocks to use in the video, which is I normally don't ever do any type of a sponsorship. I think you're the same way, right?
Yeah, well, that's right. And I mean, I think part of the problem with sponsorships is that you got to pretend you like their stuff even if it's not good, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, hey, like, I've spent my life in the bush, and man, I know good stuff from bad stuff. I don't want to pretend it's good and mislead the public. And now they're buying this stuff and it doesn't work for them or whatever. So,
yeah.
You know, like,
I
don't know.
Well, that's the part of the video everybody skips if you're doing a sponsored video. You say, oh, yeah, today's sponsored by Finn and homemade hooch, right? But
well, this video is always sponsored by Finn because
and homemade hooch.
But he never asks for any money. Just he gets steaks, hamburger, and I got to eat the dog food.
Well, you see, I hope you
I don't have to.
I hope you didn't bring me a can of dog food today, did you, Craig?
No, we're gonna have smokies. We'll have smokies.
Now we're talking. See,
let's see if we can throw a bobber out and maybe catch a fish.
Maybe catch a fish. I'm not a trout fan. That's the problem with.
But I would eat it.
Well, yeah, that's more smokies for me then.
There you go.
I have no problem with fish. I love fish. There's a bunch of different types of fish I don't really like.
Well, when we get to the island, let's go out halibut fishing.
Now we're talking. Yeah.
Okay, he loves halibut.
Well,
you've had burbot.
Yes, yeah, I've had burbot.
Burbot is good.
Walleye. Those are favorites. It's just actually like that whitefish. I love that. But any of the salmonoid family, including trouts, you know, your kokanee, your cutthroat, like it's.
Yeah. Okay.
It just the flavor. I don't know what it is. Like I grew up eating like we had salmon all the time, and I just thought I hated fish but it was just salmon. It's got a strong fishy flavor for sure. Full of little bones you just got to chew or pick out or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Well, I mean, I like all fish, as you guys probably know. I mean, when I was on the Alone Show, I mean that's pretty much all you had. I mean, fish every day.
Well, it's better than the alternative of bugs and nothing. You know, which happens for some.
Well, that's true.
Like on the show.
And the one thing I refuse to do because, well, we were told on season 3 that I was on the first one, do not eat the rodents because they had hantavirus. Okay. So basically, hey, you know what? I don't even want to eat rodents in the first place. Do you? I'll eat earthworms. I'll eat grubs, but I don't want to eat rodents. Really.
I knew a fella that was eating squirrels.
But squirrel's good. I've eaten lots.
Still a rodent, though. You know?
Still a rodent, but they're vegetarian more.
I think if I were to eat a squirrel, it would have to be burned to a crisp, covered in barbecue sauce. Like, I don't even want to taste any of the squirrel I don't want to know what it tastes like.
Right.
I want to taste just the barbecue sauce and like a little squirrel jerky. But we're not going to do that today. We got smokies.
Well, no, we have smokies, so we'll have smokies instead. I want to take Steve up to this special place. We'll see how it goes. We might even camp out tonight. See if we can get a fish.
When you did your Alone, you did like a couple of seasons there, and then you did Frozen.
I did Frozen.
I never saw Frozen. I didn't even know what it was until.
Okay, but I didn't stick around on Frozen 6 days. I said, wow, I'm not going through this again. I was kind of like PSD. What do they call that?
Just messing with me. He comes up, try to drop the stick.
Yeah.
Then wants to fight me for it.
He doesn't want to give it back, that Finn. I don't know. But
so like that's the one thing I was always curious about. Like when I go out, I film videos. Like when I'm doing it, I'm the actor, the writer, the director, like
editor.
The editor. It's not scripted, but it's definitely planned out, right? So I know what I'm going to be having for dinner. Obviously, some surprises come up along the way, where maybe I brought the wrong stove or it doesn't work just from my own carelessness. But like I would generally not film a ton of stuff. But so like on that, like when you do any of the shows like alone, do you have to constantly be filming yourself or?
Yeah, they pretty much want they want film from first light till dark, and even after dark, whether it's your fire going or. So if you haven't eaten for a week,
Yeah.
you know, like there was one time I didn't get a fish for a week on season 3. They just weren't biting. I had like 5 set lines. But you hardly have the energy to put your shoes on in the morning, but they want 6-8 hours of footage a day. So it gets tough. It gets tough.
So and you were limited to the 10 items that you got to pick from a set list of those items.
Yeah, there's about 40 items you're allowed to choose from.
Yeah.
And you got to pick 10 of the 40. Now,
10 guns.
Huh?
10 guns.
10 guns. They have silly items on there too, though. Get this one. A hairbrush? No. Make a hairbrush. Right? Who is going to sacrifice fishing line
for
a hairbrush?
Some people, if like, you know, you seem like a hairbrush customer.
Right? Well,
like,
that's what I mean. Yeah, well, I guess.
But like for me, like I grew my hair out, and you know what I use for a hairbrush half the time? My fingers.
Yeah.
I just do that, right? Like I'm not going to waste an item on that.
Well, no, that'd
Obviously.
be silly. That'd
But
be
like,
silly.
does it work? Like, are you allowed to bring like if you got medications for like blood pressure or something?
I think if you need prescription glasses, if it's necessary, yes, you can bring certain things, but
doesn't count as an item to bring insulin or something.
No.
Well, I don't know.
No, it doesn't.
If I needed insulin, I probably wouldn't be going out onto a lawn.
No, that's right, and then you know, like, but yeah, you got to choose your items wisely. I've got a buddy. He applied for the show, and I hope he gets on. Jeremy. Hey, Jeremy, I'm going to give you a shout out here.
Hey, Jeremy.
Jeremy does things. And it'd be nice if he got on the show. But it's not as easy as people think, you know.
I don't think it's easy at all.
It's not easy. I'm telling you, you're putting your life on the line. And man, like I say, if you haven't eaten for a week, how many people watching this video have gone a week without food? Not too many.
Probably not a lot of them. Unless they're actively competing on Alone right now, in which case they're not watching.
Well,
this
actually,
video.
I'm looking forward to that next season. Africa, South Africa. That'll be cool.
It sounds interesting. Like it's like just so difficult. You are very good at identifying plants. Like the last couple of days, everywhere we go, there's Greg. He says, "Oh, this." You know, these seeds, they stop blood flow, like for gunshot wounds,
shepherd
in the war,
purse,
and stuff like that.
Okay, Finn, please.
But for a whole new country with all new stuff, all new plants to learn.
Right.
And you know, I think you got.
They do give you advance warning of where you're going, so you do have a couple of months to try to study the plants.
Or to go cache some food out in the woods.
Bring some seeds.
Bring some seeds. Cache some food out there.
Yeah.
It's I'll be
So, I don't know. Radish seeds would be the thing because they in 2
radish
weeks
is
you got
quick,
radishes.
But I don't know how much nutrients is in a radish. They're tasty. They'll help, but I don't think they're full of calories.
No, there's not a lot of calories in it.
Nothing is going to grow in 2 weeks that's full of calories.
No.
And actually, that's the thing with like mung beans that I thought to bring with me to sprout my own bean sprouts, do my mung bean sprouts. Then I can have like a stir fry with bean sprouts out in the woods. But there's less calories and nutrition in the bean sprouts than in the actual beans themselves. Like once it grows like that. So
okay, yeah. Well, that's true. That's true. But you know, the most nutritious plant is all around us, dandelion. Most nutritious plant on the planet. Okay.
Well, unless you're really out there, you know. If you're in the middle
sometimes
of
you
nowhere,
don't find them.
Like if you go too far from a road, you're not going to find them.
But that's why it's good to know your plants, folks. Almost 90% of the time, you rely on fish because they're easy to get usually. All you need is a worm and a hook.
I just, rely on bringing my own food. But like, so with the longest, you were in season 3 or?
Season 3, I went 51 days.
51 days.
I got hypothermia.
I can't imagine sitting here with food and water and not being hunted by anything like, I can't imagine doing 51 days here with no contact with anybody. Like, that's got to get hard.
Oh, it gets hard. Don't apply. Don't apply.
Don't worry.
Stick to your stealth camping, man.
I got an email. I got an email from a casting director at Alone a few years ago. I think in 2021, and she said, you know, she noticed my channel, and you know, do I do any kind of survivalist stuff as well? And I said, well, you know, if I did, yeah, that'd be a dream contestant, because I know how to run a camera. I know how to talk to a camera. Something interesting is going to happen. Like, I'm more of a character than some people that are more of dead serious survivalists.
Right.
That makes good TV, but I would last one day. Like, absolutely, one day. Like, I would be, like, I don't know, like, I just get hungry. I don't know what I can eat, but, you know what?
Well, I mean, it's a lifetime acquired skill. There's a difference between bushcraft and survival, okay?
Bushcraft
is fun.
Survival
is, hey, if your life's on the line, man, you're going to find ways to survive.
Well,
but lots of people every year die out in the bush.
Lots do, but I think most people that go camping, it's great to know.
Okay, Finn, come on, please, Finn. Aren't you hot? Go in the lake. Finn won't leave us alone. We're trying to do this video, and he's just stick and this and that and whatever. But anyway, Steve, hey, let's get out of the heat, buddy.
That sounds great, Greg.
Hey, we might even go for a swim. It's hot. It's a beauty. It's a beauty, Fins. It's a beauty. Okay, well, I'm going to throw it for you. Okay, here we go. Ready? You were supposed to jump off the dock, Finn. That's better. Okay, well, I brought Steve to a special spot. We're gonna camp out for the night. I'd like it if he gets to see a grizzly bear. But anyway, I gotta show you the scenery around here, guys. It's incredible. Well, I'll tell you, man, we are in a beautiful, beautiful spot. We're gonna get the fire going. Steve is filming over there, as you can see.
Just doing our videos.
Doing our videos.
Okay, so I destroyed Greg's camera. Trying to start a fire.
I want to thank Steve Wallace for being on the Fireside chat. I want you all to know that I appreciate you subscribers and all you viewers. He did on his channel a camping with Steve and Greg video. Be sure to check that out. And we are planning out a 4-day adventure that's going to be awesome. So keep the bell on. Remember, like, share, and subscribe. Thanks, Steve, for being on the Fireside chat. And if you want to check out the overnight camping that we did together, go to Steve's channel, Camping with Steve Wallace. And you can see our overnight camping adventure. And we'll see you on the next one.